When I was a young man, I used to collect stamps. And then I got into American coin collection and model building. Well, when I went to the university in San Francisco, my major was business, but I always liked history, so I took a minor in history. And this old San Franciscan, the professor at that time, said, "Adam, I knew of your people here. I mixed with them in the early days in San Francisco, and I've never read anything about you. Would you mind doing your term paper on the Croatians?" And this is what started me off. It got to me so fascinating that I had to give up stamp collecting and coin collecting, and I did nothing for the last 30 years but collect Croatians. I've done about 9 books. 7 of them deal with Croatian immigration to America, and then early exploration during the time of expansion to the New World in the 1500s and 1600s. The major purpose of developing a center was to establish our identity as Croatians. The center started frankly in 1857, and by 1861 we bought our own Catholic cemetery. It belonged to us by deed, and it still does. Then in 1873 we were up in the gold mining country in the Amador, and we built our first home and center up there, surprisingly. And I guess the miners like to have a few glasses of wine and it burned down 3 times. This is the truth. Then after that time, in San Francisco, well, we had a branch in Watsonville, in Hollister, in Sacramento, and in the Amador in the early days. And little by little, these disappeared because people weren't coming into those areas any longer in great numbers. And then we would meet and rent halls to meet in. Then we decided about 25 years ago to start building a place.
Well, here we are at the Croatian American Cultural Center in San Francisco, and we have a great evening of Croatian and Bosnian music by Kika and Balkan Cabaret. The concept of having a home, having a dome, having a place to gather, to socialize with your friends, to sing with your friends, is just an essential part of the Croatian culture.
My name is John Morovich. I am a Croatian American musician. The music that I perform is primarily of the Croatian people, and that is within the country of present-day Croatia, and also the Croats that live outside of Croatia in the country of Bosnia and Herzegovina and into the other regions where Croatians immigrated. That includes Croatian American music, and the music that was brought here made popular in the 1920s and 30s by temperance musicians. My great-grandparents came here with very little, and this is to honor them, to honor my family, to honor this culture, our traditions, to be able to pass it on. And to perform it for an audience that is really willing to hear it. They're open to hearing it because they've heard maybe other Balkan music, Macedonian and Bosnian and whatnot, and this brings it full circle because it gives a true picture of what that culture is made up just for a short time. And to me, it's a real kick to do that. It's so much fun. It's a lot of work. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but in the end, when you hear that roar of the audience, there's really nothing like it.
My name is Sam Masonic, president of the Slavonic Mutual Benevolent Society, and we're in our home, the Croatian American Cultural Center. I've been president, this is my 26th year, and I'm a 56-year member. As I became a member, I started lobbying that for our people, the Croatians, to have a hall in San Francisco because I was really impressed with how successful some of them were in San Francisco and how smart they were. And it's a shame that we don't have a building when the Italians had their own building, the Irish had their cultural center, the Swedish had their cultural center. All these other denominations, nationalities were recognized in San Francisco except for Croatians. Well, the old timers always told me, he says, well, maybe this is not the right time to buy real estate. Anyway, one night when we had a meeting over here on Mission Street at the Sons of Italy Hall, I walked out and I came here at the corner and saw a sign on 60 Onondaga here, a for sale sign. And it was a piece of property, I think it was about 130 by 140. I came over here, went to the realtor on Mission Street, and I says, here's $1,000 down payment. I wrote a personal check. I didn't have the money in the account at those days. My most memorable day, we were an all-male association for 118 years. And 33 years ago, we opened up the membership to ladies. But the main objection was that they felt that the meetings would have to be handled different because of the women present. These Croatians at these meetings used to stand up, yell, like the stubborn Croatian as we're all known for, and they thought that would have to change and it just wouldn't be the same old society. But anyway, that did not happen. Once the women came in, the membership increased, and today we enjoy nearly 300 members because they brought in a lot of talent and assisted us, especially in the catering activities, and then also organizing various social events like Father's Days, Mother's Days, and so forth. In this room we have various exhibits and pictures that were highlights of the society throughout the years. And we also have pictures of various tamburica groups and other dancers that performed in the hall here. And it's part of the history of the society. And we also have pictures showing our annual banquets in the past years that are part of the history of our society. We have a picture, all-male organization of 1917. The banner, which is displayed at our various events, shows a mother with 3 sons, and it symbolizes protection, which is part of our society's objectives in order to protect its members.
Okay, one colo. My name is Lila Sherlagi, and I'm from Hungary, West Hungary. But my mother is Croatian. Music is my life, and tamburica is my style. You know.
Well, it all started back in 1957 when a few of us got together in Detroit and decided we'd like to learn how to play tambura. Some of us had some instrument training. I studied the violin when I was in grade school for a number of years. Then I went to what they call mid school out here, and I couldn't take the ribboning anymore, so I had to quit playing the violin. But I used to play my big brother's farkash brach. That's the instrument with a long neck We didn't speak English until I had to go to school. And then I flunked kindergarten because I didn't know my colors in English. So I had to learn how to talk English real fast. I still don't know the colors.
I'm Caroline, and this is my husband Al next to me here, and we're in our home here in Mountain View, and we meet here every Tuesday of our lives. Our name is Novi Stati Tamborashi. The reason we called ourselves Novi Stati because we have new people and we have old people. My sisters and I were very young, and we used to listen to all the orchestras that played in the Pittsburgh areas where I grew up, and we decided we wanted to learn to play too. So we talked our father, and we lived on a farm, talked our father into buying us instruments, and the man who made the instrument, his brother taught tambora how to play. So he would come out every Friday to our home, our farm, and he would give us lessons, our whole family lessons. My dad played, my sisters played, and my mother paid them in milk and eggs. She would, because in those days it was, good to have organic food even then. So.
I took a course in Balkan folk dancing when I was 19 years old, and the first dance I learned was Croatian, and I fell in love with the tamburica, and after that it was all over. And then in 1975 I went over to Zagreb and I picked up this little tamburica and brought it home, and I was kind of holding it and listening to music, and I looked down and I was playing along to the music. I don't know how it happened. To this day I couldn't tell you how it happened.
Hi, I'm Helen Koratzi O'Brien, and I'm here in the Potrero Hill. I was born and raised here, and I'm going to share with you my childhood and my adolescence. There's some sad parts, but there are a lot of good stuff I can share with you. Now, across the street here, we have St. Teresa's Church. This is where I spent a lot of Sundays, my confirmation, my communion. And I have a picture here, which I'm going to share with you. 31 families left their little town in Blata and settled here in America for a better life. And it's a group picture in front of St. Teresa's Church, taken 1932. The picture is a celebration of the patron saint of Blata, Sveta Vicenza. And it was a big celebration. And after this picture was taken, there would be a procession all around the Potrero. My parents came here, and my mother was pregnant with my brother, and they didn't have money for rent, so another family took them in, Mr. and Mrs. Basic. And they were from, of course, Blata. And they lived with them for a while until my dad did find employment, but it was hard work. But he did manage to save up some money to pay for rent. So my father found a place down on 18th Street. So we moved there, and I was born there. And we all went to St. Teresa's School. And my father didn't have money for tuition, but you know how he paid for our tuition? He would give me all wrapped up butter and eggs for the nuns. That was his tuition. I will never forget that. the men that lived here, the men from Blato, they worked for the Southern Pacific Company. And when there was a job opening, they'd say, Nick, my father's name Nick, there's an opening, you'll get the job, go down. And sure enough, he got the job. Schmada was his name, and he would visit with us. He lived elsewhere in the city, and he was from Blato, but he came here to visit his friends. And I can remember this, he had a wooden leg. And I thought, oh, I asked my mother, why does he limp, Mama? And she said, oh, he nema drvo. Drvo means wood in Croatian, so I knew it was a wooden leg. And I found out the story behind that. When Schmada was working, he had a train accident, and they had to amputate his leg. And he was going to sue the Southern Pacific Company. Wow, when his buddies found out that he was going to sue, how dare you sue SB? They gave us our jobs. What are you talking about? Well, he didn't want to lose his buddies. He did not sue. And also I remember vividly, Dalmatians by nature are gregarious. And they would argue about politics. I mean, argue. So, of course, my mother would have to intervene and say, that's enough, let's sing songs instead. Let's sing.
I am Thomas Gudel, and I am one of the prim players in the band Sidro, and we're from San Jose. We've been together for the most part off and on for 20 years. The old folklore dance group was Matija Gubec in the Bay Area. They started in the early 70s, and they had a tamburica band that kind of played with them at festivals. And my father was in that, my cousin was in that, and about 4 other people, and they would rehearse at our house. And that was really when we first, my brothers and I first heard the live tamburica music. Musically, what I've read from musicologists, they've actually, you mentioned bluegrass, it's actually been compared to it from a musical standpoint. It comes from rural areas. It involves musicianship and ornamentation and dexterity and like a dedication from a tambura standpoint. At the same time, it is very folksy. It is simple themes and what have you. I don't really play to preserve it. I mean, that's not a popular answer. I don't play to preserve the music. If we don't play it, other people will. Maybe they won't play exactly the same way. This music is going to, even the older music is going to keep going on, because I go to these cultural festivals, and it's going to go on because people like it. They're time tested, they're tried and true, and as long as there's people, as long as there's tamburicas being manufactured and creations and friends of creations and wine being made, these songs will continue to be, this music will continue to be made. I mean, it's bigger than us, man. It's bigger than us.
My name is Emil Jakočević. I was born in Split, Croatia, and I came here when I was 8. Been back several times, not enough though. In the band I played the brač, or whatever instrument is currently missing. So if somebody can't make a gig, I usually play that instrument. This is a song called Konoba, and Konoba literally means wine cellar, but you know, in Croatian, more than that, it's a place where people get together, they eat, drink, socialize, sing songs, play cards. It's Konoba moja, which means, you know, my Konoba, radost i sva. You're the, you know, joy of my life. You're everything to me. Dušu sam svoju svu tebi dam. I gave, you know, my whole soul to you. To me, it's very important because when I was a little kid and I lived in Croatia, my great uncle had a konoba, and we spent all our summers after swimming. We'd go in there and you know, we'd just eat lunch and just sing and play and talk and just do everything there. That was like our hangout. You could almost smell the wine barrels, you know, lyrically.
My name is Adriana, and tomorrow, which is Sunday, I am leaving for a trip to Croatia. And I will first be arriving down here in the south in Dubrovnik, and then take a boat ride to the island of Šipan here. And then I will take a bus ride all the way up to Crikvenica. When I compare the US to Croatia, every time I come back, it's like culture shock again, because all you see is kind of roads and cars, and you feel like everybody's always in this big rat race to get somewhere and do something. One comparison I've heard is that, especially when people go to cafes back in Croatia, they take their time drinking their coffee and they sit and people just relax and talk for hours. But over here, it's like you go to Starbucks and it's coffee on the go, and you're always rushing, trying to get somewhere and finish something. And I will see my cousin Adriana, who lives in Crikvenica, and she will probably meet me at the bus station, see me walk off, and I'll run over to her screaming and jumping, and we'll hug each other. And I know the first thing she'll say is, "Hi, cousin," in English, because I taught her that, because that's what she calls me. And I'll say, da je dugo bilo, da sam jako umorna, da bi odmah išla kupati u more. I don't know. I would say ja volim hrvatski folklor. So I love is volim, or like, and hrvatski folklor is Croatian folklore.
My name is Jan Rains, and I'm here at Dalmatio choir practice this evening. We practice every Monday in San Francisco. at the Croatian American Cultural Center. I grew up in Monterey and Oakland. The Monterey part was pretty much of a Croatian community, and every time the family would get together in Monterey and have a meal or something, all the men would sing after dinner. They sang all the songs from Croatia, particularly Dalmatia, because they were from the island of Mljet.
Some of us grew up together, we knew each other, and we started out speaking Croatian, couldn't speak English, and born and raised here in San Francisco. So we just picked it all up, English, up when we went to kindergarten. And we have a strong bond amongst us, and just history. It goes back, and our parents knew each other when they were in Croatia, and they were best friends, and we used to go to picnics, and we still do, actually. And it's just, it's in our blood.
My father was a singer. He was a first tenor in Croatia, and they had about 100-man choir that traveled through Europe and in those days Yugoslavia. And there has never been a time when our friends, when they came over, that we did not end up singing. We sang all night long. We used to go to a restaurant and get together, and then we would start singing, and the people, the customers, they would help us, they would join in.
Yes, my name is Adriana. I am from back home, from Croatia, from the island of Olib. And speaking about singing, I have an uncle. He passed away, you know. And when he was a young man, he was gifted. He got a nice voice, and he remembered a lot of songs just in the head, you know. There was no music, you know, paper, whatever. So I call him that he was my radio, because we don't have even radio, you know. We have influence by German, you know, style like a polka in the Zagreb opera. Then we have Italian, then we have a Muslim like from Bosnia, and then we have even some influence from the Greece. There was quite a few songs that was singing in the Greek style.
Welcome to Tattered Grill. My name is Mike Buich. I'm the owner of Tattered Grill. The restaurant is coming up on 160 years of continuous operation, making it the third oldest restaurant in continuous operation in the United States. And it has been in Croatian heritage the entire time. The first restaurant was a tent, actually, a tent structure on the water. And that tent was made from the sails from the ships. One of the things that our customers tell us all the time is don't change, and a certain food item was just as good today as it was 20 years ago. And a lot of those dishes came as old country dishes. They were kind of the what mom or grandma would make on the stove in the old country.
Hi, I'm Al Saracevic. I'm a first-generation Croatian American. I live here in San Francisco, or actually in the outskirts, in the suburbs. I'm a newspaper man. I work as the business editor of the San Francisco Chronicle. I'll never forget when I first moved to San Francisco. I came walking through these doors around 3 in the afternoon one day. I'd been looking for work all day and decided to get a drink. And I came in and I remember talking to my dad about the place, and he said, you know, there's a great old Croatian place on California Street. You gotta go see these guys. So I walked in and I decided to test how Croatian the place really was. So I walked up to the bar, sat down right over there, and I ordered in Croatian. I asked for a glass of beer, and the guy looked at me, and sure enough, he understood what I was saying and answered in kind in Croatian. And he asked me, so what kind of beer do you want? We got it all going. He said, so what are you doing? And I said, well, you know, I've been walking around town today looking for work, and you know, not having too much luck, so I thought I'd quit early and get a pop. And he kind of, his mood changed at that point. He changed a little bit, and he said, okay. And then he walks away, and I thought I'd upset him in some way, and I wasn't sure what. Maybe I had misspoke in Croatian or something. I was worried. And 10 minutes later, he comes back and he says to me, he goes, well, listen, we're not hiring right now, but I talked to the manager in the back, and we can start you off washing dishes. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever, and it was a very kind and wonderful gesture, and it really spoke to me about what kind of community we have as Croatians. I was both flattered and I felt awful in trying to tell him that that wasn't exactly the kind of work I was looking for. I'm a journalist and I was looking to go, write for the newspapers here. And but you know, within 10-15 minutes of being in Tattered Grill, early in my time here in San Francisco, I was offered a job by my good Croatian friends here. So we joke that there's a certain negativity or a certain resignation in the Eastern European personality. And we always say, oh, my mother would always say, happy, what's happy? There is no happy. Who promised you happy? You know, that kind of thing. And that's kind of the joking side of it. But in reality, I think what I really take from the Eastern European mentality is never giving up. When I think about what my family went through in what was then Yugoslavia during World War II, and being overrun by Nazis, and the subsequent fight with the partisans, and not having food, and both my father and grandfather were imprisoned after the war for political reasons, and they survived it all. They got through it all, and I really believe that on a day-to-day basis, what reminds me of my roots is just that kind of stick-to-itiveness, the resilience that I see in Croatians and Eastern Europeans in general. They don't give up.
Today what we're doing is preparing strudels that we're going to serve at our upcoming Croatian festival. We now have some wonderful shortcuts. You can buy phyllo dough, but in the days of our parents, they had to make it from scratch. The thing about our Croatian cuisine is that we all, so many of us may or may not know how to prepare the dishes, but we have fond memories of growing up with them. You show a menu to any Croatian, and if he sees lamb on it, 9 out of 10 are going to choose that. Or if you're from the Dalmatian coast, they may be choosing the calamari dishes.
It's a part of living. I mean, we don't eat the food because we are hungry, we want to eat something. We eat the food because we totally enjoy. A lot of our cooking, we don't make it in half hour when we cook the meals. Our meals always take longer time to prepare. The food is important because food a lot of times will bring the people together. You want to treat your friends, you want to treat your family. When we get together, either with just the families or the friends, we always put all the food on the table. You take what you want, you take as much as you want. And if you don't care for something, you just do not, somebody doesn't put it on your plate. My father and my mother, of course my family, my brother and his family, they used to say, we know we are approaching your house because the whole neighborhood smells wonderful with a wonderful aroma that comes from a kitchen.
Family dinners is what brought us all together, and that was when you started the conversations about what went on in your day. And in the old country, we heard our parents talking about coming home for the family for the evening meal, because often they were out working in the fields during the day, and food was brought to them by the women in baskets that they carried actually in our region on their heads. But in the evening meal, everybody got together and talked about what had happened during the day, how the plowing went, how many cows they milked.
My name is Bill Kumbelich, and I'm one of the principals and founders of the CAC Group, which is a commercial real estate firm that's based here in San Francisco. Well, when I think of Croatian culture, I really think of fun and happiness and family and friends, because that was a very big part of how I grew up. With my grandmother in the house, she was constantly cooking. It was known that if you got to her house within about 3 minutes from the time you entered the door, the food was going to be on the table. In terms of the work ethic, from the area where our people were from, it was not easy, and so for people to survive, it was pretty much survival of the fittest in a sense, and so people had a tremendous work ethic. You were defined pretty much by hard work. In fact, there is an old saying on our island, which in English translated means sleep fast, eat fast, work fast. So in other words, it was a commitment to, just get going and don't sit around and wait, because you got things to do.
Croatian families, especially in those days when I was a kid, were traditional families, really good Catholics. We were not only going to the church, but each family prayed every day, every single night. Family prayed the rosary. And you are growing with your Catholic beliefs. And then you are going to the church, you are going to religious classes for First Communion, for other sacraments, and somehow I feel that I want to be involved in this, that I want to be part of this. We are a Croatian Catholic mission, but actually we are on level of a parish. It was really great that one lady, Croatian lady from Dubrovnik, got this place as a dancing hall and restaurant. She donated this property to Croatian Franciscans, and the church was dedicated in 1975. From that day on, our parish, or better to say, mission starts here, and we are still here in this building on this property. There is many different things that I like, but actually all of them are going around the church, around my job that I'm doing, and I want to be with the people.
I was born in Croatia, a place called Međimurje, Donji Kraljevec. Well, I was born Catholic, grew up Catholic, and married to Catholic. I have 3 children, and this is just like, without that, I wouldn't be me, what I am.
When I first came here, it meant the world to me. I came at 14. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know English. I didn't know anybody. I wanted to go back home so bad. But, when I came here to this church, I met people who are in the same position that I was. So and also when we go back to Croatia during the summer, I want my girls to be able to speak Croatian, to get to know the culture even better in their own language.
Assimilation takes a great part, and people is assimilating to the culture where they live. But I think that church helps that assimilation to go slowly, because if you know who you are and what is your past, then you can grow normally and accept other cultures.
Well, we've been going to this church our whole lives, and we have lots of fun here. Everybody here is really close, and everybody's like family, so we have lots of fun here.
Yeah, my parents have been going here before I was born. They were married at this church, and we have a bunch of friends and cousins and family here.
We speak fluently, and it really means a lot to us because I don't think I would rather be from anywhere else except for Croatia. I mean, I love it, so.
We have a dance group who is really great in our community, and they are practicing once or twice a week here in our small parish hall.
Well, my name's Stephanie, and I've been dancing kola since I was 5 years old because my parents thought it would be a good idea for me, and I didn't like it at first because little kids don't really like to dance, girls and boys, that whole thing doesn't really work. But as time went on, I really started to like it, and we had a great teacher since we started. I've been dancing since I was 5, and now I'm about to turn 18, and we've had the same teacher, Leo Andres, since the beginning, and he recently retired, and we love this dance so much that our group kept going without our teacher. We became our own group, and we kept it going because it's part of our culture and it's something that we really enjoy, and I'm so glad that I'm part of this.
Yeah, I was one of the original founders of Koratzi. We started the folk group when our kids were young. They were in the 3rd, 4th grade, and I always had this vision of creating a group in the Bay Area that the community would be very, very proud of.
Koratzi means steps that we take through life, steps that we take to get from one level to the next. And that is what our dance group is all about, our choreographies and life. The kids love to come together to perform. Yeah, so they start when they're 5 years old in kindergarten, and 5 through about 8 or 9 years old, and they move up to the middle group until they're about 13 years old, and then they go up to the senior group, we call it. And the senior group gets to travel a lot more than the younger 2 groups. Our motto is all are welcome, and we love to invite our friends and family, neighbors to come and join us and to see our dancing. The music's inviting, it gets you to want to dance. Sounds like polka a little bit sometimes. It's usually telling a story of collecting the hay, or when it's harvest time, collecting grapes, gathering the grapes, times for weddings. Dancing is the thread that brings us all together. It's kind of like the chain link, and it's a strong link, it's a strong bond. Our community, we're a strong community of Croatian friends and family, and it's what keeps us all together.